This video could change your life in 20 minutes. This is serious. If you don't know how to deploy an ML app on the cloud, that means that everybody, including employers, cannot see your data skills. We need to change this immediately. 2 easy steps. 1. You have to sub to the channel and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any other important information, just like this. Seriously, do it. That's the first step. Optionally, watch part 1 of this series where I build a killer Flask app along with a machine learning model, and it's not that hard. Check it out right here. Step 2. Watch this video in full and change the speed according to your liking. Don't step away from the video. And if you really have to, if you're out of time, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can come back to it quickly. Give it a like. Don't get left behind. Okay, so last time we built the following app structure to create our app. So we had just this folder of, our stuff, and inside that we have requirements.txt, which is frozen from our virtual environment. So when we're a virtual environment, we wrote freeze requirements.txt. This is outputting to a file all of the stuff that we need to recreate our virtual environment, which is not only important for us as developers to push this on Git, and we don't have to pass the whole environment files itself. We can just pass this one small file to say, hey, you need to download this stuff. But for Heroku, it's extremely important because when we go to deploy it on the cloud, we just send it this file, and Heroku asks the same questions like, what do I need? Well, here, it's going to run pip requirements.txt. It's going to download and install all the stuff that it needs onto Heroku itself. Then we, of course, have our app folder where that stores all the stuff we need for our app. So in that we have static folders. This is where we're serving pictures, which is the main part of our app, really. It's making a graph to display. And we have templates, so that's the web page that we have. We only have one web page. We also have our data file stored in a pickle. We have the app file itself. The entire app is running there. And model.joblib, that is the linear regression model from scikit-learn. These are all very small files. We're very okay with pushing this entire thing to Heroku. Or actually what we're going to do is from our GitHub repository, we can use Heroku to automatically read from that repository. And by read, I really do mean it's going to download everything from that repository and put it on its own system. It's not just going to find out what's on the repo. It's going to take all of it. So I'm going to show you how extremely easy it is to push our app onto Heroku. We're going to go into the same directory as our requirements.txt file. And I'm going to recreate our virtual environment for now. I actually deleted it before, but that's fine. That's why we have this requirements.txt file in general, so that we can easily recreate it. So to do it on this machine, we need to actually make a virtual environment itself, so a blank one. So I'll do pi-m venv.env. And remember, I'm using a hidden file, so I'm using dot because you kind of want to hide it from the users a little bit. You don't have to, it's just common convention to put a dot in front of it. So we have a blank virtual environment, and now I want to I want to activate it first. So .env/scripts/activate. It is activated. Now we can install what we need in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is just recreate what we already had. So that would be installing, again, all of these libraries. So it's saying our app needs all of this. Okay. For now, let me just show you that we're going to put all this back in. And this is the same thing that Heroku is going to do when we deploy it. So pip install -r requirements.txt, it's going to put all of those exact libraries onto our machine. That is going to run a little bit, so I'm going to skip after that is done. Okay, and you should have seen that it installed everything into the virtual environment. You got all the libraries that you need to run the app again. So I should be able to, where is my app? Sorry, I'll just put this in the middle here. So I have the app folder here. If I cd into app and I run flask run like before, we should see, yes, it says user production WSGI server instead, which is exactly what we're going to do on Heroku. We are going to copy this just to check that it still works, and pasting that in. Yes, we have our graph. And does the app still run? And yes, it works just fine. This works fine on our local server, but to make it work on Heroku, we're actually going to need one more library, and actually we're going to need to adjust a couple things just because, things can get kind of weird when you're pushing it to a cloud, but it's actually not bad at all given the gain you get from pushing it to a cloud for free versus the little bit of annoyance that you have to go through. We have to install one library called gunicorn. Pip install gunicorn. So this is the library that's going to help with it serving it as a web server on Heroku. One of the few nuances of this Heroku deployment is that there's a couple files that we have to create, and actually they're very, very small, so do not worry about that at all. we have to make 3 for our app. For other apps, you might have to do something different, but for us, we're going to make a runtime file, a proc file, and a WSGI file. And I'm not really going to explain what all of those are. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. It's just for setting up our deployment. So I'm just going to show you what you have to write in each of those files and where to put them. So I'm going to open up our app folder in VS Code, or your editor of choice, whatever you want. And over here, you should see your main stuff folder. So part 1 is what I'm calling, like, my group of everything. And under that, we have our .env app folder. It's this folder right here. So in this base part here, not nested in our app folder, we need our proc file, which I'm actually just going to arbitrarily start with that one. This level, so at the outside level, we're going to make something called capital P ROC file. You can see it actually recognizes it. I believe that's a Heroku symbol right there. I'm just going to paste here the very short thing that we need: web : G-unicorn WSGI : app. That's all you need for that file. Arbitrarily second, I'm going to, at the same level, make a new file called WSGI.py, and that's a Python file. You should recognize that one. So I'm again just going to paste in what we need and read it. So it's from app.app, import app, a lot of apps there. And then so if the name is main, app.run. It's just helping it start up the app on the cloud. And finally, at the same level, I'm going to make a new file called runtime.txt. And again, I'm just going to paste in the very small thing that you need. It's just Python dash, and then a up-to-date version on Heroku right now is 3.8.9. Should work just fine for our program, and it'll work for a very long time into the future. Sorry, if you're following along with me, you might have noticed that I actually put all of those 3 things not in the place I thought it was. It was putting them under the app folder for some reason, even though I said new file up here. So I want them out here. Okay, so don't ask me again. I want to move WSGI out there, runtime, and proc files. So now if I close app, they are all right there, and they are all right here as well. Hey guys, sorry for interrupting the video. Just a word from our sponsors. Thanks so much, Coursera. Offered by IBM, there's an IBM Data Science Professional Certificate where you can kickstart your career in data science and ML. So seriously, this is awesome. Check out how you have to do it. So enroll for free. Starts April 16th for me. That's today. So it'll probably start for you, whatever day it is. 7-day free trials. You don't have to pay anything for 7 days. So unlimited access to all courses in the certificate. Watch the lectures, try out assignments, and participate in the discussion forums. There's a huge group of active people in these where you can ask them for help, maybe make some friends. It's a really good idea. Cancel anytime. So of course, you can either cancel before the free trial and then you won't pay at all, or you can cancel after a month and you only have to pay 1 month. Whatever it is, it's $50 Canadian per month. So let's talk about that for a second. Do I actually think that's a good price? Well, quite honestly, yes, actually I do. And I'm not just saying that because it's a promotion. $50 Canadian is about, 35 American dollars per month. Comparing that to any sort of better education, so quite honestly, I think that a university education is better. I think most people would agree with that, but it is way more money. It is way more time. You get a certificate when you complete it, share on your resume, LinkedIn, and I was about to say computer vision for CV. No, so your resume. And there's really awesome courses. Course 1, huge amount of ratings, really good certificate. There's so many more, and I linked everything in the description below. This one's at the top because I think it's the most popular. There are so many that I handpicked that are linked in the description. So please pause the video, take a look at the description down below, pick something that's right for you, or don't. That's perfectly fine. Enjoy the video. Okay, so now we can actually get to the fun stuff. I know this is a little bit dry where we're just going into these files and writing very small things that we don't even really know what it's doing. That's okay. That's how some of the stuff goes sometimes. Now we're ready for the fun stuff. So if you haven't already, make sure you're putting all of this stuff in a GitHub repository that's not just on your computer, but it's on GitHub, the cloud itself. Okay, so I have GitHub desktop for that. It's a lot nicer to me rather than using git clone, blah, blah, blah. So what I do, if you're following along and you don't know how to use Git, then just download GitHub desktop and follow along with me. If not, do your own Git thing, and that's perfectly fine. So what I'm going to do is make a new repository and call it live demo flask app, and the description is going to be nothing. And I have to choose the path of my application, which is right here. So make sure it has all of this stuff in there. So like your main folder, not just the app folder. Okay, so I create repository, and then I'm just going to publish that. And yes, same name, github.com. Keep this code private. Yeah, I'll keep it private for now. Don't worry though, I'll make it public on my YouTube repo as always. So that now exists, you should be able to go and check out your own GitHub, and you should see really all of those things that you have in a repository. Actually, I lied to you. If you go and take a look at your folder, what should happen is that you need to move all of this new, like all of the same stuff you had before, but into this new folder. So it made a folder where this stuff is going to track the Git. So what we can do is just push this in here. And don't worry about the virtual environment itself. That's fine. We don't really need to involve that in the Git. In fact, it's actually a lot better if we don't involve it in the Git, because then we don't even need to make a git ignore where, don't worry about that. Okay, so basically we have all of our stuff in here. And now if we go to GitHub Desktop, or again, if you're doing Git elsewhere, you would see that we have a bunch of different changes to our repo, and we want to push that. So I'm just going to call this really initial commit. It's everything. Committing that change, going to push origin, which means actually push the cloud or push GitHub. And if I refresh GitHub, now you should see that I have everything there. So I have WSGI. And it's actually nice. You can click on stuff and read it, and it covers everything here. I love GitHub. So WSGI, runtime, and requirements, get all the files that you need, including the one that we had called GUnicorn, except I don't see it. That's kind of odd. Actually, it's not, because although we installed it in our virtual environment, we never froze the file again. So actually what I'm going to do, and I'm going to just boot this up again, I had to close it early. I'm just going to open up and start our virtual environment. Now we have that running. We should see that if we do pip freeze, okay, so this is not opening to a file, it's just showing us what's in there. We see GUnicorns in there, but it's not in our file. Pip freeze, caret, I guess, requirements.txt. We have that, and actually we should have moved it into the right folder because it doesn't belong here, it belongs right over here. Replace that one, or do that in the command prompt, doesn't matter. Either way, we should detect a change in our Git that we added GUnicorn into that. You'll see that I get really lazy on Git commits. You really should write a nice name on this where it says updated requirements.txt to include GUnicorn for moving to Heroku. All right, commit that. And again, we're ready for much more fun stuff. So now that we have our requirements.txt updated, we should refresh this thing and see that it's updated here. Okay, so now our repo is pretty much set. I'll actually show you we have a very tiny error later, which is kind of annoying. And you really wouldn't know until you started the app, to be honest, because our app is working right now. So I'm going to pretend that I don't know about the error. We are now ready to push it to Heroku. So we are going to, well, go to Heroku. And I am already logged, well, I'm not logged in, but I already have an account. If you don't have an account, go ahead and set that up. I don't anticipate you having much trouble with that, but if you do, let me know. I am just going to go ahead and log into my account, and I'll show you the dashboard once I am logged in. I'm going to skip right to there. Okay, so somehow or another, you should have gotten to some page that looks something like this, where we have all of the apps that you have. If you haven't made a Heroku account before, you should have no apps, or maybe you tested one out. But here I have some stuff for myself. So you'll see this one might look like it's what we want, test.ml flask tut, but don't worry, I'm going to make it all from scratch. So I'm going to go to new, create new app. The app name is going to be, say, what is the same? I want to use the same name I used over here. So I'll just go ahead and copy that, live demo flask app. Okay, so I'll push that. That is available, good. The app owner is me. Choose a region. Well, I'm actually from Canada, but United States is, you know, that's understandable too. So we have our main app dashboard here, and I hope it's not intimidating. There's a lot here, but honestly, you don't need 99% of it. So what we do need is to connect to GitHub. If you really want to go down the Heroku CLI route, absolutely, you can check that out yourself, but I find it's much, much easier to just connect to GitHub. You won't have already been connected to GitHub already. However, it shows up just signing into GitHub. That should pop up. Now search, I'm just going to search for my repositories here. You can see my private ones. Oh no, don't look at my private repos. So the one I made is, let me just find it, not Flask Heroku. There we go, live demo Flask app. So I'm going to connect to that one. So now it's Heroku saying, okay, when you want me to build an app, I'm going to pull everything. I'm basically just going to clone everything from that repository onto this machine, and then I'm going to boot it up. Okay, so it's connected to not just my GitHub, but that particular repository, and choose a branch to deploy. You want it to be on main. Well, I would assume if you're doing something different, that's fine, but I'm going to be on main. I'm going to go ahead and deploy branch, and I am absolutely going to skip through until I show you. I'll read through the logs with you afterwards, but I'm going to skip until after it's done because this might take quite a while. Okay, apparently I lied again. It took away all the logs from me. I'm sure you could find them if you go into the Heroku CLI tool that just looks like this, but for Heroku, we'll actually use it in a second, so don't worry. We are going to view the app because now it says it's deployed, and so we're going to click view. We can see it's on. This is a public website. Like right now, if you saw this link, it's not going to be active for you, this one in particular, but you could go and take a look at it if I had it up and running. So, and it's free, by the way. I'm not paying anything for this. So right now, you can see our app is actually working. I said we'd have an error, but we don't yet. If we go to give it some inputs, we go to submit, it says internal server error. And now, okay, I mean, what would you do right now if you saw an error and you have no way of looking at it? Yeah, it kind of sucks. So we need to use the Heroku CLI tool to go and take a look at our logs so that we know the problem. I know what the problem is, but let me just go and take a look at it with you so that you understand how you would diagnose similar problems yourself. Okay, so as I said, Heroku CLI, you can Google that, Heroku CLI tool, and here you can download it. Clearly I've already done that. Download and install. I will link this in the description. I am not going to go through this I'm not going to go through this with you because it's really just a tedious task that's not fun to watch. It's not too difficult. Again, if you have any problems, please let me know. I'll link it in the description. So what it does do is you would have a CMD where you should be able to go into your normal command prompt and type in Heroku, and that should recognize that should be on your path now. So Heroku is this tool. So it's the CLI command line tool. So CLI to interact with Heroku. What we want to do is, well, first I can write apps, so manage apps. If we write Heroku, and you're just going to write Heroku in front of everything, that's how this works. If we write Heroku apps, that's going to show me the name of all of my apps, which takes a surprisingly long amount of time to find that out. We want live demo Flask app. So what we want to do is Heroku logs, so trying to find out information of what went wrong, dash app. So what app do we need? We need live demo Flask app, and we want tail to show at the end of it. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff here, and we do actually see the error of what went wrong. We see in here no such file or directory, model.joblib, which is really annoying because you saw our app work on our local file system. Like it should have worked. Again, some nuances with the cloud, it's not a big deal. Let me show you how we can fix this very easily. I'm just opening our code up in VS Code, so our whole folder here. If we go to our app folder, so all the problems rely in here. It's actually, what's noteworthy is that we have no errors with deploying the app, so yeah, this is a new app, so this should be from the very beginning of what happened. So we made a release, made apparently a couple releases for some reason, even though I swear we only made one, and a lot of stuff going on, kind of difficult to read. But you can see there's no errors, like there's green and blue, this is all good stuff. But now we have an error, and it's just that model.joblib is not found. That is actually awesome that it deployed properly with all the WSGI runtime files. It all worked out. Believe me, this can be kind of difficult sometimes, so getting that right is awesome. What we do need to have is this fix. What would you fix, even though we know our app works, but it doesn't work on the cloud? Somehow it doesn't think there's a file or directory there. Well, things for some reason change a little bit when we're putting it on Heroku here, and so what we need to do is the fix is actually very easy, although it might not be super obvious. We need to append some, or prefix, I guess, some of the paths with app/. Okay, so instead of, and we're going to run into the same error here with static slash svg when we're trying to make the picture with this file. Actually, this is another one, for example. This one also needs to be appended with app/ages.heightpkl. We need to do this because all of the things that are in this app folder here, so this folder or this file, ages and heights, and model.joblib, these things need to be appended with app/ on the cloud for whatever reason. So if I put app/ there, that'll be fine. And this is the one that actually had the problem, app/ there. and path equal to static slash. So that's our SVG. We actually need to reference that as well. We need to change that to app slash. And then I'm sure many of you are thinking like, well, I shouldn't need to do it here with it because this is static. It's a little bit different when we're passing it into the render template thing. I know this is really kind of annoying, but this is the fix. So we do path is app slash static, model is load app slash model.joblib, and make picture app slash ages and heights.pkl. The last thing is just the same thing, but as I said, it's a little bit different in the href where we're passing it to the render template file or function. And so what we want to do is instead, if path is this app thing, well, then I can just simply bypass this by taking 4 and then the rest, because we don't want the 0, 1, 2, 3 characters. We want to start at 4. So if I start at static, then that is what we want for the render template one. So since we made the change to our code, after we save that, we are ready to go ahead and push that as a commit. So again, notice that there's a change here. We'll just say fixed app slash whatever. You can maybe make a better commit message. I get really lazy on them, as I'm sure you'll see. And after that's ready, it's pushed, so we can automatically get from that. So it's going to deploy the branch again. It's going to read from our repository. It knows that there's a change. Well, I mean, Heroku doesn't know there's a change. GitHub made the change, and it's going to go ahead and read all of that, and it's going to deploy our app again. Okay, so check this out. If we go to view our app, and it's going to run this again, so that's good. I input some values into our text box. You can see it hasn't crashed yet, so that's a really good sign. And you'll see it actually ran the model, didn't crash. It put our outputs on there, and you'll notice I did kind of bait you at the beginning. We do unfortunately lose the functionality of the Plotly graph without doing something more complicated like Plotly Dash when we put it on the Heroku cloud, but this is not a problem because that's not the main part of the app. The point is to run a machine learning model. This is a machine learning model that's on the cloud. Like that's the whole point of the app. We can train a machine learning model very, very easily, put it into a web app, and have it actually running, performing inference on the cloud. And I did that. So don't be mad at me. Write a comment yelling at me saying, hey, I wanted this interactive graph where I could click on the data points. But really hope you liked it. You've learned a lot. I very much encourage you to make your own machine learning model and run a very similar app, maybe an image classification, something like that, and make a really cool app. Okay? Tell me what you plan on making below. Have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.